Hey everyone, it's Alex with Couch.com, and I am here with my friend, the esteemed Kyle Schuneman. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Couch.comers.
Kyle is a highly regarded interior designer and an art director, and interior designer of private clients, both all around the country in Hollywood, and Chicago, New York, and everywhere in between, and has art directed for various furniture photo shoots and brands in the furniture space, as well as some really cool TV shows and commercial shoots and things that we've probably all seen on TV. So thank you for being with us, Kyle.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about sort of how to style different types of sofas and how to make certain couches look really great. The first question that people want to know based on what we're seeing out there is, how do you make a couch look more luxurious? How do you gussy it up in a way that makes it look a little bit nicer or more expensive? And maybe you have some ideas that are outside of the normal, like we know we can put a couple throw pillows on it, but what are some other things that we can do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there are some kind of like classic things that you can build off of. So for instance, yes, you should throw some throw pillows on them just because you're going to want them, but also that really adds another layer to it. But if you take that layering idea, then you really want to kind of have different textures and shapes almost in those pillows. So let's say you have like a boucle kind of pillow that's giving you a lot of texture. Maybe that's the bigger one. And then you have maybe a striped pillow in front of that that's a bit smaller. And then round pillows are actually really big now. And so that kind of all of a sudden becomes this interesting corner of your big blob sofa, right? And then you can kind of pull that idea and maybe you do two other pillows on the other side. And you're kind of layering your textures up, but you're also making it cozy. Because I think that is really, when you talk about luxurious and sumptuous, that's really what you're kind of alluding to. I think another way is definitely throw blankets. I love at the end of an L sofa to kind of have one draping. I think you can either have it really kind of modern and straight. You could also have it kind of draped if you want, a more traditional, looser spot. But I think those are kind of really easy ways to make it look luxurious. I think you can add a floor lamp over it. Then all of a sudden it's kind of telling your eye, this is a cozy little reading nook. And I think things like that really just kind of add to it. I always think a couch is just kind of a base. And if you go with a more neutral couch, then you can kind of work it for any season, any feeling, any party.
I love that. And I especially love the brand new sofa coming soon to a city near you, the Big Blob sofa.
You're welcome for that.
Yes, thank you.
Trademark it. It's a water bed, but a couch.
It's not a bad idea. Okay. Two other questions that I think are pretty, somewhat related to this, but are very, very commonly asked. They're about something we already discussed a little bit: L-shaped sofas and sectionals. I think in some ways it's almost obvious where they need to go in a room, especially if the room's not humongous. You kind of can only put them in one place. But sometimes with larger rooms or different shaped spaces, people don't really know where to place them. Some people ask, do I put it in the middle of a room? Do I put it against a wall? Like, what are some general rules of thumb that you think about when you're styling a room that has an L-shaped piece of furniture?
So for me, I would say for the most part, I don't put couches on walls. They're almost always floating, because I think they are such bigger pieces that they kind of can create dimension to a bigger space already. So you kind of can use that to your advantage. So I actually do like to pull it off the wall. I think a mistake I see a lot is that everything just gets like pushed to the sides, right? Like the cabinet's over here and the sofa's over here, and there's way too much space kind of in between. And so if you bring everything closer, obviously it's weird to float a TV in the middle. So you keep that on the wall and you bring the couch closer. Then you can have a sofa table on the back that can display things. That gives you another visual layer. I also think I've just worked with so many couples now over the years that couples like to lie one person like this and one person like this. So you almost always want an L-shaped couch, so that each person kind of gets to. But another one, I mean, is great as a modular couch. Those are really big these days. You can kind of move them around. I have one behind me. You can actually move the ottoman in the middle if you want to make kind of a bed for a Netflix night or whatever. But I always recommend pulling that stuff off the wall. Let your rug kind of be your anchor. It's oftentimes your fifth wall. So if you kind of put that in the center and you draw the sofa around it, that's for me the best way to kind of create a room within a room.
That's all great stuff. So just to recap a few big things, keeping things away from the wall as much as possible, just so that everything has to be like against the wall, is something that you've noticed is not a good design feature.
Yeah, you don't want to do like the prisoners against the wall idea. Like
prisoners against the wall. Okay, I love that. Another thing that you just said that I really liked was just that the rug is like your fifth wall. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I often tell people, because a lot of times people are worried about putting color on their walls, or maybe they can't because they're renting and so they can't put wallpaper. So if you put kind of either a bold color or a bold pattern on your rug, that kind of becomes your fifth wall, so that you can introduce, I mean, it's a huge space, right? It's like an 8x10, it could be a 9x12. These are big spaces, and to not kind of take advantage of that, you're losing a big design opportunity. So you really want to kind of infuse that base with stuff that you can layer on top.
Great tips. Last question for you. When you're talking about an L-shaped sofa, or sectional rather, what kind of coffee table do you think goes with it? Or what are some rules of it? Because we've all sat on those sectionals where the coffee table's literally taking up the entire thing, or you're like, hit your legs when you get up.
Yeah.
Or it's like a weird shape. I mean, what are sort of your rule of thumb?
Yeah, so I try to say I like a round one, if I'm being really honest, and that's usually what my go-to will be, just because you kind of want to always layer in different shapes. So a round one is good because you're using this big kind of right angle, and so that really softens the space. I try to stay away from ovals because it kind of does this weird point thing to one side, and no one can kind of use that. So a round piece, it's still giving access to those two pieces. There are instances where I'm okay with a square or a rectangle, but I often, when that is the case, I always like it to be open underneath, just because it's such a big piece. You don't want to do kind of a Tetris block thing. So giving yourself some levity underneath the coffee table, if you're going to do square, is what I'd recommend.
I love it. All good stuff. Thanks so much for being with us, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.